join me for a warm tale to bring you calm and restful dreams. Yeah, and the Singing Meadow. This story is about a girl named Dahlia who discovers a magical book that transports her to a singing meadow full of melodic flowers. Once upon a time, in a quaint village nestled between rolling green hills, lived a young girl named Dahlia. She had a heart as pure as the morning dew and eyes that sparkled like the stars. Lena loved to read, and her favorite place was the village library filled with ancient tomes and neat adventures. One day, as Dahlia explored the library, she found an old, dusty book titled The Singing Meadow. She opened it and was immediately enchanted by the illustrations of a meadow filled with flowers, where each bloom sang a different melody. Intrigued, Dahlia took the book home. That night, under the glow of the moon, she began to read the book aloud. As she read, a soft, harmonious humming started to fill her room. Dahlia looked around, puzzled, until she realized the sound was coming from the book. The more she read, the more vivid the meadow in the book became, and the singing grew louder. Suddenly, Dahlia was no longer in her room, but standing in the middle of the singing meadow. It was even more beautiful than the illustrations. The air was filled with melodies, and the flowers swayed in rhythm. Among the flowers stood a rose, larger and more magnificent than any Dahlia had ever seen. The rose introduced herself as Rose, the guardian of the singing meadow. Rose explained that the meadow was a magical place that existed within the pages of the book, and only those with kind hearts and love for stories could enter it. Philia and Rose spent hours exploring the meadow, each flower telling tales of old heroes, enchanted forests, and forgotten kingdoms. Dahlia felt as if she was living within the stories she loved so much. As dawn approached, Rose told Dahlia that she had to return to her world, but could revisit any time she read the book. With a gentle touch, Rose handed Dahlia a single petal from her bloom. The next morning, Dahlia awoke in her bedroom, the petal still in her hand. From that day on, Dahlia often visited the singing meadow, each visit filling her heart with joy and wonder. She shared the tales she learned with the villagers, bringing magic and happiness to everyone around her. The village became a haven for storytellers, and the libraries at feasting cells overflowed with new stories. And so, Dahlia and the village thrived, bound together by the magic of books and the melody of the singing meadow. Let's continue our peaceful journey with another tale. Dan and Wistaria's Enchanting Book. This story is about a boy named Dan who meets the bear named Wisteria, and together they discover a magical pond that reflects their pure-hearted dreams. One crisp autumn evening, Dan, a curious young boy with sparkling eyes and boundless imagination, decided to take a walk in the forest. With every step he took, the fallen leaves crunched delightfully under his feet. The golden hues of the setting sun painted the sky, creating a canvas of pinks and oranges that took his breath away. As Dan wandered further, he came across a massive old oak tree. Its branches stretched out like protective arms, as if inviting him to come closer. It was here that he first met Wisteria, a majestic bear with fur as soft as the morning mist. Wisteria's eyes, a deep and knowing brown, met Dan's with a gentle, almost human-like curiosity. "Hello there," Dan said softly. "I didn't expect to meet anyone here." The bear nodded, as if to say it was a pleasant surprise for her too. The two sat in silence for a moment, sharing the serene beauty of the twilight. Suddenly, the air shimmered round them, and tiny sparks of light began to dance in the darkening forest. Our flies, hundreds of them, lit up the night like stars had descended from the sky. Dan looked at Wisteria in awe, and she smiled, revealing a sense of ancient wisdom. "Would you like to see something even more magical?" Wisteria asked. her voice as soft as a whisper. Dan nodded eagerly. Together, they walked deeper into the forest until they reached a hidden grove. In the center of the grove stood a crystal-clear pond, its surface perfectly still. Wisteria gestured for Dan to look into the water. As he gazed into the pond, images began to form, beautiful ethereal visions of enchanted lands and mystical creatures. Van saw unicorns galloping through fields of flowers, dragons soaring in the sky, and ancient trees that whispered secrets of old. This pond shows the dreams of those who have pure hearts, Wisteria explained. It reflects the beauty they hold inside. Dan felt a warmth spread through him. He never knew such wonders existed so close to home. As the night wore on, the stars above mirrored the magical scenes in the pond, creating a symphony of light and wonder. Thank you, Wisteria, Dan said, his voice filled with gratitude. I've never seen anything so beautiful. The beauty was always there, she replied. You just needed to open your heart to see it. As dawn began to break, Dan and Wisteria made their way back to the old oak tree. They said their goodbyes, with a silent promise to meet again. Dan returned home, his heart brimming with a newfound sense of awe and magic. And from that day on, he carried the memory of his enchanted walk with Wisteria, knowing that the world's wonders were always just a step away, waiting to be discovered. And so, under the glow of the morning sun, Dan drifted off to sleep, dreaming of the magical adventures that awaited him and his newfound friend, Wisteria. Let's drift further into peace with the next story. Sedge and Gazania on the Hills. This story is about a boy named Sedge and a starfield named Gazania, who form a deep friendship on the hills before the time comes for Gazania to return to her distant galaxy. Once upon a time, in a small village nestled between rolling hills, lived a boy named Sedge. Sedge was a curious child, always exploring the meadows and forests that surrounded his home. One day, as he was wandering through the hills, he noticed a glimmering light in the distance. Intrigued, he followed the light until he reached a grove of ancient oaks. There, among the roots of the oldest tree, Sedge found Gazania, a star child from a distant galaxy. Gazania had shimmering skin that sparkled like starlight, and eyes that glittered with the wisdom of the universe. Despite their differences, Sedge and Gazania quickly became friends. Sedge shared stories of his village and taught Gazania about the plants and animals of Earth. Gazania, in turn, shared tales of distant stars and taught Sedge about the mysteries of the cosmos. Each evening, they would climb to the top of the highest hill, where they could see the entire valley bathed in the golden light of the setting sun. They would sit side by side, gazing at the stars as they appeared one by one in the twilight sky. One night, as they were stargazing, Gazania told Sedge about her desire to return to her galaxy. Though Sedge was sad but understood that she needed to go back. They made a plan for Gazania's journey home, using a magical portal hidden in the hills. The night of Gazania's departure, the hilltop was filled with a radiant light. They said their goodbyes, tears shining in their eyes, but with smiles on their faces, knowing their friendship would last forever. Each night after that, Sedge would climb the hill and look up at the stars, knowing that somewhere up there, his friend Gazania was looking down, watching over him. Instantly, a soft, warm light enveloped them both, and Bluebonnet's glow was restored, brighter than ever. Silverbell felt an overwhelming sense of relief and happiness. As they journeyed back home, Bluebonnet's radiant light guided their path through the night. In their quaint village, they were greeted with joy and celebration. The villagers, touched by Silverbell's unwavering devotion and Bluebonnet's restored light, told and retold their story for generations. Silverbell and Bluebonnet spent the rest of their days together, a testament to the beauty of true devotion and the magic it brings into our lives. Let's begin another chapter, warm and comforting. Geranium and Phlox, a lesson in responsibility. This story is about a girl named Geranium and a beetle named Phlox, who learned the true meaning of responsibility while building a home for Phlox's family. Geranium had always been a curious little girl with shimmering green eyes and a heart full of wonder. One sunny afternoon, she wandered into the lush garden behind her house, where the flowers bloomed in a symphony of colors. Among the petals and leaves, she found a tiny beetle named Phlox, who was as shiny as a polished gem. His iridescent wings sparkled with hues of blue and gold, capturing Geranium's intrigue instantly. Geranium and Phlox quickly became friends, sharing stories and dreams. Phlox told her about his family and how he wished to find a safe place for them in the vast garden. Geranium, always wanting to help, offered to build a beautiful beetle mansion for Phlox's family. She imagined a grand home made from twigs, petals, and moss. Every day after school, she would rush to the garden, gathering materials and designing intricate rooms that blended into the natural surroundings. As the days passed, Geranium learned the importance of patience and care. Each time Phlox visited, he admired her hard work and dedication. However, he also reminded her to take breaks and not to tire herself out. One evening, after a particularly long day of building, Geranium noticed that some of the twigs she had used were wet and starting to rot. Phlox fluttered over, his wings catching the last rays of the setting sun, and whispered gently, "It's essential to choose the right materials, and sometimes that means starting over." Geranium took his advice to heart and began anew the next day with fresh twigs and petals, ensuring they would dry and sturdy. Slowly but surely, the beetle mansion took shape, becoming a masterpiece of nature's finest elements. As the tiny home neared completion, Geranium felt a sense of fulfillment and pride in her work. She also realized the true meaning of responsibility. It was not just about finishing a task, but doing it well and with care. Finally, the day arrived when Phlox's family moved into their new home. They chirped with joy, and Phlox thanked Geranium with a sparkle in his eyes. "You've shown great responsibility, Geranium. Your kindness and diligence have created a safe haven for us," he said gratefully. Geranium smiled, understanding that with responsibility, she had learned not just to build something wonderful but to do so with love and dedication. That night, as she lay in bed, Geranium thought about her adventure with Phlox. She knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, she could face them with the same spirit of responsibility and care. And with that comforting thought, she drifted off to sleep, dreaming of new ventures and the magic of a simple garden. On that she felt as if she had awakened from a beautiful dream, but knew in her heart that the magic was real. From that day on, she lived her life with a sense of wonder, knowing that every leaf and petal held a story waiting to be discovered. May your night be calm and restful, sweet dreams.